Man, Irv Gotti just died at 54 years old. Irving Lorenzo Jr, aka Irv Gotti. Man, this is pretty sad. I mean, he had a couple strokes within the past year, and that has reportedly led to his death. And Irv Gotti, I mean, just reputation wise, to see the ups and downs in some of these entertainment careers is pretty astounding. Like, once upon a time, don't get it twisted, Irv Gotti, Murder Inc, Ja Rule, they were killing it. They were on top of the game from, I would say, 1999 to 2002. Like, that was their peak, 99 to 02. Once the 50 Cent versus Ja Rule battle started to really pick up, it seemed like from that point on, it was all downhill from there when it came to Murder Inc. and its artists. And it wasn't all due to the beef. There was like also a federal investigation that led to money laundering charges that largely seemed to, if not blackball Irv Gotti, at least kind of paint him as a figure that executives with other brands, companies, labels didn't want to work with any longer. And it had seemed in recent years that he was making a bit of a comeback. Like, he had, released a series, a TV series, I think it was on BET around 2017 called Tales. So I know that he was trying to get into the TV and the film business to the point where he reportedly and admittedly sold his masters, sold his publishing masters, his basically his whole catalog, production royalties, all of that. And he said that he got about 100 mil. I hope that 100 mil, or at least the non-tax portion of that 100 mil, is now in his 3 children and his family's hands, and that they don't have to work another day, because you would just hate to see all of the work and all the accomplishments that he achieved not end up being a huge benefit to his offspring. So I just hope that that's the case. I mean, it's sad enough that he is survived by 3 kids. I just hope that those kids are more than well taken care of financially based on the work that Irv Gotti put in over the years. But he had said that he sold his catalog so that he could invest in his future. He worded it as, I sold my past so that I could invest in my future. But here we are, 2025, and as of February 5th, Irv Gotti's no longer with us. But it just highlights how crazy reputation shifts can occur in the entertainment industry, let alone the rap industry. Like, I mean, it's just mind-boggling how much being on the wrong end of a rap beef can impact one's career and one's reputation. Because again, from 99 to 2002, Ja Rule, Ashanti, Irv Gotti, like that whole clique, they were killing it with one hot single after another. And you fast forward a few years and Ja Rule is almost an industry punchline. I don't think it's deserved, but reputation wise, I hope that time will tell a different story as time continues. I hope that, he gets a renewed and refreshed reputation boost, because quite frankly, I mean, the Murder Inc. and Ja Rule, Ashanti, those catalogs, they merit it. And I don't think Ashanti suffers as much from the PR hit that Ja Rule and Irv Gotti suffered. And there were other artists like Lloyd, who's a really good R&B singer, and then the lesser known rappers like Cadillac Ta, Black Child, Vita. But just sitting back and witnessing Irv Gotti's career is pretty crazy. Like, I didn't know at the time of the Reasonable Doubt album release. I didn't know until a few years later, and this always impressed me, but that Jay-Z song, Can I Live? That was produced by Irv Gotti, who then went by DJ Irv. That always impressed me. And that's Can I Live is one of my favorite songs from Reasonable Doubt. And I always love the line, it gets tedious, so I keep one eye open like CBS. You see me stressed, right? Dun, can I live? Dun, dun. I always love the beat, love the track. But yeah, Irv Gotti produced that, and that wasn't his first like major production credit. I don't know if y'all, I mean, you would have had to have been around in like the mid 90s and been listening to rap around that time really to know that there was an impactful MC at the time, Mic Geronimo. That's actually where Irv Gotti like really started getting his bigger production credits. I know he produced for like Cash Money Click, not Cash Money Records, but a different crew entirely, Cash Money Click in 94, but 95 is when Mic Geronimo came out with the album called The Natural. And there were a couple videos from that album that were playing like on the box, BET, and so forth. But yeah, Mic Geronimo, he was serious business. He had a second album called Vendetta that did okay as well. But Irv Gotti produced a single from that album, The Natural, called Ish Is Real, or Shh Real. But there was another song from The Natural that not only had Jay-Z, so keep in mind, this is 95, the same year as Big L's Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, which also has a track featuring Jay-Z, a pre-Reasonable Doubt Jay-Z. But there's a song called Time to Build on that Mic Geronimo debut that has not only Jay-Z, but also DMX and Ja Rule. This is 95. This was a lot of people's first time hearing Ja Rule and DMX. There was also a 97 single from Mic Geronimo's second album called Usual Suspects that also had DMX and Ja Rule. And again, Irv Gotti produced both those beats for Ish Is Real and Time to Build. And then you fast forward 1 year and that's when he did Can I Live from Off Reasonable Doubt. But Irv Gotti also brokered the deal between Def Jam and the signing of DMX. Irv Gotti was instrumental in that. I mean, for a while, they were actually planning to have a group around like 97, 98, 99. They were gonna have like a group called The Murderers, and that was supposed to involve DMX, Jay-Z, and Ja Rule. It never ended up happening, although they did do a couple tracks together. But yeah, Irv Gotti was like a major mover and shaker, major player, not only a producer, but also a connector. And if you hear his interviews from over the years, he's also a really good storyteller. Like, I mean, him, Fat Joe, you've got different people within the industry who are around in the 90s who are willing to share these stories involving some of your favorite MCs. But yeah, Irv Gotti, I mean, he was that guy. Again, he helped DMX get his Def Jam deal, which led to It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, both in 98. Now, later on in 98, like when Jay-Z dropped A Hard Knock Life, so that was the same year that had those first two DMX albums. But then on like the Rush Hour soundtrack, there was that Jay-Z single, Can I Get A, featuring Emil, and then this dude who was rapping at the end of it. And I remember I was thinking at the time, who is this cat? Oh, this is that same guy from that Mic Geronimo song. But I wasn't ready for Ja Rule at the time because this was the post-Pac era where Pac was, you know, remember he was wearing the bandana backwards and stuff, and he had a certain energy. Well, we got DMX in 98, right? That's where he debuted with his first two albums, both in 98. So DMX was killing it by that time. And then we get this Can I Get Up, which was a fantastic single. That was also, by the way, produced by Irv Gotti, but that was a really cool single. But Ja Rule had the last verse on that, and his energy was such it seemed and felt like a Pac and DMX knockoff at the time. Here he came shirtless, bandana tied a certain way, kind of yelling his verse, and I'm like, oh my God, didn't we just get DMX? And so for a while, I wasn't really buying the whole Ja Rule thing. And then he eventually dropped Holla, Holla, anybody that's willing to get dollars, dollars. And then came Veni Vidi Vici, that first Ja Rule album. And a lot of people also don't know that Irv Gotti was either producing or co-producing all of these or many of these Ja Rule singles. So we got Holla, Holla from the first album, and then he came back with Rule 316, which really set him off. Like, Veni Vidi Vici did pretty well. The next album, the second Ja Rule album, is what really launched him because it had that first single, Between Me and You, with Christina Milian, and then the second single, Baby Girl Put It On Me. That's the one that made Ja Rule like a pop rap star by that point. That's where he had the hair half braided and half out. Yeah, Ja Rule, his reputation blew up after Put It On Me. And that same album also had 6 Feet Underground. It had a really good single with Lil Mo called I Cry. That was one of my favorite songs from that album. But yeah, Irv Gotti produced a lot of that work. And if you just go down the list, like Ja Rule had even bigger singles from his third album, Pain Is Love. He had Living It Up. He had Always On Time, which I think was his first #1 single. Unless you count it would have been I'm Real with Ja Rule and Jennifer Lopez. That was a huge single, also produced by Irv Gotti. So I'm Real, Always On Time, also produced by Irv Gotti. So yeah, don't get it twisted. Irv Gotti, he was not only like an exec, but he was a producer as well with several hits. He produced like Foolish and a few of those Ashanti hits. And then around the time of Ja Rule's 4th album was when they started really getting into it with 50 Cent, because 50 Cent started to emerge with those mixtapes. And I mean, he was calling them out as early as Your Life's on the Line, Murder, I Don't Believe You. I used to love that song. But yeah, by the time he dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, that had the song Back Down, basically calling Irv Gotti like a wannabe Suge Knight, the writing was on the wall and things started to get really bad for Ja Rule and Murder Inc. after that point. Ja Rule ended up doing several years in prison. I think it was like tax issues. But again, Murder Inc. was not only getting dissed like crazy by the most popular rapper in the game. Again, 50 Cent just blew the hell up. He was like the #1 dude in the game, just trying to rain terror on Murder Inc. and Ja Rule, and anybody who was willing to feature on a track with Ja Rule would get it too. And you see that 50 Cent still kind of handles things that way. Like we're seeing, if you follow 50 Cent's Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, between getting dissed by 50 Cent and Eminem by the end of this whole beef, and getting bled dry from that federal investigation into the money laundering, which, you know, Murder Inc. and Irv Gotti and his brother Chris Gotti, they ended up being acquitted of the charges, but they got bled dry financially through the process and the paperwork and the attorneys. And again, this kind of marked Murder Inc., who then changed their name to The Inc. They ended up being untouchable in the industry, and not in a good way, but in a nobody wants to work with you type of way. So that was pretty much the end of Murder Inc. and the end of that incredible run for Irv Gotti, Ja Rule and company. But again, it's just jarring when you see these reputation shifts. But again, Irv Gotti was still determined to make a comeback and to still accomplish great things. He had some really good interviews talking about what he was working on. Again, he had that Tales TV show. He said that he had like an investment from Pimco to start working on a movie if it got licensed by a big or reputable studio. So Irv Gotti wasn't done working, but with the strokes and the huge health setbacks, here we are. And again, Irv Gotti passed away at 54 years old. So yeah, rest in peace to Irv Gotti. Again, I hope that his family is able to inherit and benefit from the great work that he did. But yeah, if I'm leaving anything out that you would like to mention about Irv Gotti, about Ja Rule, about Murder Inc., let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's a little bit about what I wanted to share just in terms of like my personal view on the Irv Gotti story. Like it could get really shady and sometimes unfair that the tables could turn on you individually and in a business sense so dramatically. But yeah, Irv Gotti and Chris Gotti's relationship with Supreme McGriff, which led to those federal investigations into laundering drug money basically through Murder Inc. and through like a film that Murder Inc. had produced, that was pretty much the beginning of the end for Murder Inc. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments, and rest in peace to Irv Gotti. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.